So, Dragon Ball Daima has wrapped up after episode 20 last week, but in the last week we've also got a new art illustration by Toyotaro that shows us 5 of the strongest warriors in Universe 7 at the end of the superhero arc, all in what is their strongest known transformations. And there is one design element that has got many a debate going at the moment and has definitely raised eyebrows and could change the way certain people view the power scaling in particular in Dragon Ball Super's manga. Now, just before I continue, obviously we may be back in Dragon Ball Limbo again after the end of Daima. We don't know what's to come. We're assuming there's going to be a season 2 or a movie for Dragon Ball Daima. But when the Dragon Ball Super manga completely returns from its hiatus, I know there was the one shot, but that was what it was. I actually enjoyed it, to be fair, but it was what it was. After chapter 103, I felt like Dragon Ball Super was left in quite a good place, an exciting place with all of these warriors in this picture, as well as the potential threat of Black Frieza and Beerus talking about God of Destruction candidates. That's what I wanted, and we've been waiting forever for it. Obviously there is a very valid reason, but smash a like on the video if you think Dragon Ball Super after chapter 103 was actually at its most exciting point in terms of what was going to happen next. And even though I have many issues with Daima, I think a lot of people have an issue with Daima simply because it seems to be taking place of something that we actually want. We put a lot of time and investment into the Dragon Ball Super story, especially those that have continued following the manga on from when the anime concluded a long time ago. So smash a like on the video if you think it's an exciting time moving forward. This is a new illustration. It's got Ultra Instinct Goku, Silver-haired Ultra Instinct Goku, Ultra Ego Vegeta, Gohan Beast, Orange Piccolo, and Super Saiyan Broly. Now, Super Saiyan Broly is the big debate going on right now because, as you can see from this picture, the colouring of this picture, he has green hair. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, that's minor, but actually it could have quite big implications, especially on the scaling of the series and the way that Broly's character is going to move forward in upcoming arcs. Now, as you can see, they're all in their strongest transformations. Vegeta's in Ultra Ego, Piccolo is there in his orange form, and Goku is using silver-haired Ultra Instinct. Now, a lot of people are saying this is a picture at the end of chapter 103 and saying that it could have been part of the spar that happened between all the Saiyans. Obviously Goten and Trunks were there as well, but ultimately, whilst you could say it could have been the spar between the Saiyans, Piccolo is there, and we know that Piccolo definitely was not on Beerus' planet when that spar occurred. So I would argue that this is just basically a picture being drawn up by Toyotaro, hopefully to draw up some excitement for an impending announcement for the return of the manga moving forward. Whilst Daima is definitely not looking as it currently is that it can align with Super in terms of the contradictions that are in place, obviously we feel or are theorizing that Daima may have a season 2 or a movie to conclude things, so things can still happen that make it align. Ultimately, even if it doesn't, and that doesn't come to pass, and they go in the direction of having 2 different continuities that don't align with each other, which I'm actually fine with. I think most of us want a conclusion to the Dragon Ball Super story. There's been 9 arcs so far in the manga, but is it really a good ending to have a villain, Frieza, with his Black Frieza form, the strongest in the verse? GT ended well. As much as we criticise GT, it ended well. Goku needs to win in the end. Even though I think Super has a lot of legs in it, I at least want to see a final arc that concludes things, even if Daima goes off into a separate continuity, and I'm still hoping that it aligns somehow. Creatively, it can still happen, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. So obviously there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes in the Dragon Ball franchise. But that colouring of Broly's hair, whilst we see the green hair in the movie of the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, it is in a very different state. It's often referred to as his Super Saiyan full powered state, mostly by the official franchise. A lot of the fans call it Legendary Super Saiyan, still because of the impact that Dragon Ball Z's Broly had, and he was referred to as a Legendary Super Saiyan. And I know a lot of people have an issue with it being called a Legendary Super Saiyan. I'm not that bothered. I don't know why people get up in arms about it. There is a Viz manga article that compares Kale and Broly together, and it calls them the Legendary Saiyan. If they turn Super Saiyan, they're obviously then therefore a Legendary Super Saiyan. Whether it's called Super Saiyan Full Power by official sources or not, you can still find a connotation that allows that naming of that transformation to happen. Like just when Goku got Super Saiyan 4 in Daima, everyone's like, it's not Super Saiyan 4. Now, I'm somebody who didn't want it to be called Super Saiyan 4, but I was referring to it as Super Saiyan 4. A week later, all these people look like morons simply because, you know, you died on that hill. But, you know, we take our L's, we get up, we move. Now, like I said, Broly had this green-haired form in the movies, but it was stated by the Dragon Ball Super Broly production team that this was an addition by Toei and it wasn't actually in the original script by Toriyama. So initially in Toriyama's original script, and remember guys, for Broly there was an original draft that was a 3-hour long movie that got cut down. If they actually adapted this into the anime, I'd like to see all 3 hours of that content adapted. They have so much potential with this. Anyway, still, it wasn't in his original draft. So that leads some of the True Vision purists to say, well, it's not even really a canon form because it's not Toriyama's idea. That's very strict in my opinion. I think what actually ever occurred in the movie is Toriyama's vision. He would have had to have okayed it. So even if the idea was pitched to him by somebody else, then he would have had to have given the green light. Ultimately, that happened multiple times, even in the original Dragon Ball Z manga, where people suggested things to him, even if it wasn't his original idea and he put it in, it's still canon and it's still his true vision because he is the one that ultimately signed his name off and put it out there. And guys, I really use the term canon lightly because if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know what I think about canonicities in the Dragon Ball franchise. The franchise itself doesn't particularly care, it's mostly a fandom thing, and even within the fandom context, most people see Toriyama's true vision as the official canon, but ultimately, all strands of the Dragon Ball franchise are canon unto themselves. GT isn't by Toriyama, despite minor involvement, but ultimately it is canon unto itself. Everything that happens in GT is canon to GT. But that leads me onto the fact that Dragon Ball Super has what is deemed multiple continuities. It has the movies, has the anime that came out, and it has the manga, which is still ongoing. There are differences, whether you like it or not. There are differences, especially between the manga and the anime. The original anime was getting bullet points by Toriyama, and they were going off and had a writing team, many different writing teams I must add, and then they basically created the story based on their perspective of Toriyama's bullet points. I personally think the manga is closer to Toriyama's vision simply because of what's been stated in interviews, that they have multiple meetings, everything gets signed off by Toriyama, and they likely have a direct line between Toyotaro and Toriyama. But ultimately, Broly's green hair transformation hasn't been seen in the Dragon Ball Super manga yet. So this illustration with Broly having the green hair is what is interesting, because for months after that sparring match on Beerus' planet, people were saying, well, perhaps Broly can't go into his legendary Super Saiyan form anymore, or his Super Saiyan full powered state, or a controlled Super Saiyan full powered state. Now, I did cover this on my channel, and I said that it's quite possible that he does have the enraged legendary Super Saiyan state still in the bag, and that his controlled form is basically just him controlling some of that power, and he's allowed to go into Super Saiyan. But I admit, this picture does put that into doubt, however I don't think it debunks it. And as I said before, the best comparison is what happened with Kefla in the Tournament of Power. Even in the manga, even with the colouring in the manga, we see Kale going to that Super Saiyan Berserk state, or legendary Super Saiyan state. It's actually stated to be legendary in the manga by Cabba. Just take a look at your screen now. The hair for Kale, whilst you could argue there's a slight tint, it wasn't quite the same tint as Kefla's when she comes about. It's actually closer to Broly's as it's depicted in the coloured manga. But it wasn't fully green like Super Saiyan Full Power Broly in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. However, when Kale fused with Caulifla and became Kefla and went Super Saiyan, the hair had that green tint. So this could suggest that when Broly controls his Super Saiyan state, that's when he gets the green tint. However, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the exact same as a Super Saiyan full powered state, because when he's in that state that he was in the Broly movie against Gogeta, he'd lost control and his power was exponentially increasing, but he couldn't control it, and that's why Gogeta was bullying him basically. Broly's sheer raw power was insane. There's even a statement in a Viz article that states if Broly controlled that power, he would be a match for Gogeta Blue. Blue Fusion is incredibly powerful. Now, I do find this interesting, and I'm actually going on to the theory side a little bit here, because we have the two Ultra forms, Ultra Ego Vegeta and Ultra Instinct Goku. Those forms, providing they're in the right state of mind and state of heart, can get stronger throughout a battle. They grow in battle. Whilst you can apply a fixed multiplier to them to begin with, that will quickly change in battle and they'll get stronger. Broly, in his legendary Super Saiyan form, does the same really, except he has no control over it. Now he has control over it, that could indicate, with the green hair, that he's in a very similar state to the Ultra forms. Maybe you could call it an Ultra Super Saiyan form. I know I'm getting ridiculous now. But the original golden-haired Super Saiyan doesn't technically grow in battle. If anything, as we've seen in previous battles in Dragon Ball's history, the longer they're in Super Saiyan, they'll get weaker over time unless they gain some sort of Zenkai, simply because, you know, they're burning out, especially when you get to the Super Saiyan 3 forms. Now, obviously, many of you know that I did a full power scale video for all 9 arcs of the Dragon Ball Super Manga, and I put in that video that there could be 2 ways to scale Broly. There's 2 big ideas. Ultimately, the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie has a lot of literature surrounding it from official sources that is on the level of Beerus. If you applied that to the manga context, Beerus is still the strongest. So there is that direction you can go in. Obviously, Broly's not in a controlled state. He will attack anybody and everybody at that point. He's basically a useless warrior because he will just destroy everything. However, there are connotations in the Moro arc that Moro surpassed anybody that Goku had faced before, and I think it's a very fair argument to make. I have no issue with that argument, and like I said, between those 2 ideas, I'm on the fence. If you lowball Broly, based on the statement in the Moro arc, he's nowhere near Beerus if you apply it to the manga context. However, if that toughest statement just means difficult to beat rather than an analysis of power, then you can still wank Broly up to Beerus levels, which means in that state he is still stronger than a lot of characters such as Moro and Granola, and even Black Frieza for that matter. And of course, we went through the whole cycle of whether Broly could turn Super Saiyan at the timing of Granola making the wish to become the strongest of the universe. If he couldn't turn Super Saiyan, then his base form is basically as strong as he can be. You know, obviously, he's easily going to be surpassed in his base form. His base form's only equivocal to a Super Saiyan at that point. Obviously, that's incredibly strong, but not up there in top terms of the head of the tables at the time. As I've said before, that wish reflects a moment in time. This is heavily implied in the Granola arc. But if you're a Broly sexual, it doesn't really matter, because ultimately in chapter 103, it was implied that Broly in his controlled Super Saiyan state was able to match Gohan Beast in terms of sheer power. Obviously, he just had a lack of control over that sheer power that Gohan had, and that's why he was being defeated. And Gohan was stated to be a potential God of Destruction candidate, and Beerus did imply in chapter 101 that to become a God of Destruction candidate for Universe 7, you had to surpass him. This is literally what he stated to Goku. So Broly's up there anyway, regardless, especially with this new controlled Super Saiyan state, and it seems to have green hair. Is it possible that this green-haired Super Saiyan state has the same qualities that Super Saiyan Full Power had in the Broly movie, and that it can get stronger in battle, and that's what makes it unique and basically better than the original golden-haired Super Saiyan forms? And obviously with the Broly movie, you could also bring into the fact that there does seem to be the Akari regular Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan Full Power stack, whereas in the sparring matches on Beerus' planet, he seems to just go straight into this Super Saiyan state. Some people have indicated that in this picture, he doesn't seem as muscular as he did in Beerus' planet sparring match, so it may just be a reflection of what we're about to see in the future, which I think is fair enough considering he's still on Beerus' planet and likely training with Whis now. Anyway, it's very interesting. I've loved talking about Dragon Ball Super again. This has been great. I hope you enjoyed this video too. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Even if this is going to be another Dragon Ball down period, I'll keep bringing out this content. I love talking about Dragon Ball. I love talking to you guys. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on this matter. Even if it's a small comment or a big comment, I do really appreciate your comments. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Until next time, Ad Astra.